Welcome, Dumpster.
Hi, Dad.
Hi.
Hi.
Please welcome to stage Miss Cherami Leigh.
Hello. It's like a fun fireside chat with
Yes,
these
it is.
chairs. I like that. I mean, I know it's not as symmetrical, but.
We can scoot it over if you want.
No,
Let's
no,
so
no.
feng shui, rearrange this thing for you.
I like these chairs.
So how you doing? How you doing?
Good.
What's kind of going for you?
Con's been great.
Do you want them? Do we need mics? Do you guys
need
want
mics?
us?
I don't
want-
think we
do
need
we
them.
No?
Do we?
We're okay.
Yeah. It's been great. It's my first time in Buffalo, so we went and saw Niagara Falls this morning.
Woo!
Yeah. The Maid of the Mist was not open
Oh,
because, as someone pointed out, they had not done their inspection, which I was very confused about, and then we found out it was just an inspection, and they just have a fun nickname there for it.
That makes sense.
No inspection has been completed yet, therefore nobody can operate. But had I wanted to, but I didn't know how long it was going to take, I could have gone over to the Canadian side and jumped on their tour. But, you know,
Still time.
next time, yeah.
My son, when he was young, was absolutely petrified of it.
Really?
He was also really little, so.
I mean, I could see that. It's a little daunting.
It is.
There's that lovely little path. I guess that's the path to the cave. That
Yeah.
little.
Mhm.
It does look a little bit like the path to Mordor. Like it's a little.
It's a fair
It's
assessment.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
took a picture of it, but I don't. If it was really cold and really windy or rainy, I don't know if I would not be thrown into the rapids. I don't know if I would. If I would trust
Right.
myself to not lose my balance.
Well, you're safe enough. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on
You made a wise choice.
dry line. We're okay.
I'd like to start with, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You started off as a child actor.
Yeah.
How does a child at the age of 6, was it?
Yeah.
How does a 6-year-old decide they want to act?
I think I was like 4 when I started harassing my parents, saying that I wanted to be an actor. And I don't really know what I knew that I wanted to do or what got it in my head, but the way that I knew that it was an actual job and it was an attainable goal is my mom is a dance teacher and she had a student, Pia, who played Min on Barney.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I want to be on Barney.
Right.
So natural progression of thought that I wanted to take acting classes, and my mom said, no, this is a very hard business. I don't want you doing it. It's going to be hard. So she did what any parent would do, which is put me in really hard classes where everyone else was older than me, where she knew that they would send me home.
Right.
And they said, no, she's great, she can stay. And it just
Backfired.
backfired on her repeatedly. She took me to an open call for Miracle on 34th Street, where she was like, if she has to wait in line all day and have to memorize all these lines, she's gonna be so miserable and will never have to do this again. And then they kept calling me back, and I would meet with another director, meet with another casting director or a producer, and we were there all day, and they said, she's really good. We're sure she has an agent, but she says she doesn't have one. We think she's just confused. My mom said, no, she wants one. Thank you for ruining my whole plan.
Did you, at that point, did you understand really did you understand the process of acting? Did you understand, was this a fun thing you were doing?
I think it was just a fun thing that I was doing, and I loved memorizing lines, and I loved getting to play pretend. I was a really shy kid, and my mom was also very shy when she was young, and so she didn't want me to be debilitated by the fear of being around people. And now that I've been an actor for so long, I'm still very shy in front of people that I don't know.
You've done the right thing here then.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like a nightmare. No, it's not. You guys are lovely. But anytime I have to give a speech in front of like a class, or it's a very vulnerable thing. But I think as an actor, I wasn't the one doing the vulnerable thing. I was playing a character, so I could do a lot of things through them, and they were like the safety net. When I worked on a film called Not Cool, and this character was so fearless and didn't care what anybody thought about her, and there were a lot of things in the film that I would never do. Some of them I did not do. There were a lot of things that I would have never done, and then at the end of the day I'd be driving home going, oh, that wasn't so scary. I did that.
Right.
It was just through Tori, but I did that. So I think that's what I realized later on acting was doing for me, was giving me some sort of confidence that I didn't really have as myself.
Now, what was your life how did your life change as a child actor? Did you realize what you were doing was not normal for the other kids?
I realized it when I started getting bullied and was like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't normal. I remember I didn't, I guess I didn't really think how different it was that I would just leave school during lunch and record voiceover commercials, or I'd be gone for a day of school, and I knew other kids were gone for a day of school when they were sick. And so I'd be gone for a day of school shooting a commercial, and all of my homework was done. If anything, I had to get it done earlier or stay up later to get it done. But I think when I did this episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, and I came back to school after the week that I had been gone, I was like so excited. That's what I love doing. I love being on set, and I wanted to tell everybody how cool it was, and that I found out about all this breakaway glass that's actually rubber, and they drop it on your head when like they're shooting at you. And then I noticed that girls were picking on me, and while I was at a sleepover, they wrote on me with Sharpie and were cutting my clothes while I was sleeping. And I realized, oh, that they don't know what it's like, and the fear of not knowing what I'm doing and feeling like they're missing out or feeling like they're being left out, I feel like a threat to them, so they want to attack me for it. And so that's when I decided, when I was 10, like, I'm not going to tell anybody at school what I do or what I work on. So for the longest time, which is terrible if you're an actor, because it puts you in this horrible space of like, I'm not going to network at all. Nobody's going to know anything that I'm working on, because I don't want to upset anybody.
Did that make you not want to do it at any point, though?
No, never. It just actually made me go, I guess I just don't do well with people.
Right.
Maybe I just won't have friends. So for a whole year in like 6th grade, I was like the Lone Ranger, had tunnel vision in the hallway, and was like, I have no friends, and I'm going to focus on my career, and that's going to be great, because I loved my job so much. And then I found some really great friends along the way that were accepting of me.
You've situated your life so you can literally do nothing else.
I mean, I guess so,
Yeah.
because I never wanted to do anything else. Yeah.
So you studied in college.
Yeah.
Did you find going into college, having as much experience you had already, did that change how you viewed your education?
I love school, and I love research, and I love learning things. So the problem with going to college is I wanted to go to a bigger university and have the college experience. But I had a radio show on Radio Disney from 8 to midnight on Saturdays and Sundays. And so, I was already working, and I was already a working actor, and I wasn't willing to quit any of those jobs. And so I had a couple of universities that said, we want you to go through our program, but if we find out that you auditioned or worked on a project, you will be expelled. So I was like, well, I can't do that, so I'll do my education while I'm working on projects. And then when I worked on a film called Temple Grandin, and I remember I had to be gone for a week and a half, and I said, I know we have an exam, can I take it 2 weeks early, and then you can grade it at your leisure? And the professor was like, no, you take the tests when everyone else takes the tests, or you drop the class. So I had to drop the class and do online.
You think they'd be
like
slightly more supportive of you actually getting into the industry?
From what I understood, they said there's a lot of people that would use their their prestige of like, oh, I'm going to this university, and start going to auditions, and if they weren't prepared and didn't have the experience, then whatever audition they went to, those producers and directors would say, well, I'm not bringing in anybody from USC if that's what they look like. So they wanted to make sure that they're signing off and they're graduating so I understood it to a degree, but I was also really frustrated, because I wanted to have that full experience, but it just wasn't exactly the journey that was made for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did voice acting come in then? Where did you find that book?
Yeah, I had been doing commercials and film work when I was 6 and 7, and then my kid agent said, go over to the adult department of the agency. Nancy needs to talk to you about something. And so I was 7 years old. I meet this agent. She throws me in a closet with a cassette tape and a little plugged-in microphone, and said, I want you to say these like 10 lines. We recorded it on the cassette tape. She popped it out, put it in a like a little manila envelope, gives it to her assistant, and they ran it across town. And then the next week she was like, great, we're sending you to do this 7-Eleven series of commercials. And so I did a series of like animated commercials for 7-Eleven, and they needed a 3-year-old sounding voice who could read all of this copy. And so since I was 7 but I sounded like I was 3, she had talked to my agent and said, give me a kid who can read really well, who sounds like a baby. And that's how I got the job. And then from there on, I was recording at that studio and doing commercials for them, and they'd say, we've got some children's medical center copy, can you just come in and be this kid? And from then on, I just got jobs because I had been working with them. And I don't think at that point a lot of kids were doing voiceover, at least in Dallas. So then I started working at Radio Disney, and I was doing a lot of voiceover, which was great when I wasn't doing as much on camera work. I was always working in voiceover and radio. And then when I was 18, my agent said, we've got this audition for you. It was just like another random audition at this place called Funimation. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cute. And then went in, and it was for a show called Peach Girl. And I was like, this animation is very strange because it looked like anime, but I thought anime was just Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and Sailor Moon.
Right.
So I was like, well, it's not anime because it's not one of those 3. But it was also like a soft focus, like some of the fantasy sequences in anime, and I was like, what am I doing? And then it was like high school drama and Mean Girls. I was like, oh, I know this all too well, except this time I was playing the mean girl. And then I got the job, and I remember recording saying, you guys should do more of this. Like, and they said, oh, yeah, we do this all the time. I was like, you need to slow down. You're recording at such a rapid rate. You're going to run out of anime. He said, we will never run out of anime, my dear. But I've been working for Funimation and various other studios now for over 11 years, and they haven't run out of anime. It's amazing.
Did you find you had a particular, did your skill set lend itself to anime?
I think it's interesting. I've worked with a couple of directors for video games and animation, like Western animation and then anime, and they'll say some on-camera actors are fantastic and they just are able to transition, and some of them are brilliant, like Oscar-winning film actors, and then when you put them in front of a microphone, they just seem very dull. And then you'll have some great voice actors that you put them in front of a camera and they're just way too over the top. And I think because I had taken so many classes, probably my mom being like, this will be hard for you, this is going to be difficult. Then I knew how to do on-camera acting. I had done stage. I think definitely my mom being a dance teacher and me dancing my whole life, I think working on rhythm and tap and just being around music, I think that definitely helps with the rhythm of flaps. You just kind of are able to pick up, well, what do the words look like, and how quickly can I pick up the lines and watch the flaps, and because you have to work so quickly and you've never seen the lines before. And so I think my cold reading skills that helped me pick up dialogue quickly as a child when I was going to auditions definitely helped me pick up dialogue in the short-term memorization and then move on, regurgitate it, and move on to the next line.
Was it a learning curve for, I mean, anime and video games especially, there's really particular, like, you have to vocalize responding to things that you wouldn't normally respond to.
Yeah.
Like eating and
that was
opening
weird.
your mouth, and you have to verbalize it.
Yeah,
Was that something you had-
absolutely.
What was that process like?
It was so awkward.
Right.
And because most of my experience in playing a character, I mean, I had done cartoons or radio, but radio, you're just kind of being a normal person and no one's watching you. Now I'm playing a character and I know people are watching me and I'm making all these weird noises and eating reactions, and it was very uncomfortable, and like noticing reactions. And I used to believe that no one did that in real life, and then my husband last week surprised his family out of the blue. He flew home to Texas to surprise his family, and his brother's reaction to seeing his brother was not, "What are you doing here, John?" He said, "Huh?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, people do that! This is not just anime, it's real!" But his brother does watch a lot of anime, so maybe, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. I think we might have influenced him a little bit.
Now, a lot of the roles you take on are, you're basically the second person to play the role.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
If not something like Sailor V,
Sure.
you're the third floor.
Yeah.
Do you take any consideration as to how they approach the character? Or are you just going into it? Okay.
Yeah, so if it's, I mean, bare minimum, if we're dubbing, there's going to be an origin voice. If it's a live action dub, which we're doing a lot for Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and various shows like that, we're going in and we are just providing the English voice, and we want to match their performance, we want to match their eyes, because they delivered a great performance, and we are just bringing that to an audience that maybe doesn't have the luxury of being able to read a subtitle. So that's what we're doing for that, and it's incredibly important to honor their performance and their integrity of what they brought to the character, but also for anime specifically, or in a case like Sailor Moon, where there have been multiple actors that have played all these characters. If I just went in to play the role and tried to do a copy-paste of my best impression of this actor, I feel like, for me, it would feel like a very wooden cardboard performance. The first time I did that, where I was taking over for another English voice, because we reference the Japanese before we do every line, sometimes multiple times. But I was taking over for an English voice for Shakugan no Shana, and I was taking over for Tabitha, and I thought she was fantastic. But the license moved from a Canadian company to Funimation, and it wasn't going to work to bring the actors down. So for the first like 8 to 10 sessions before I really felt like I found Shauna, I would listen to the Japanese track, and I would listen to the English track, Tabitha's track, and then allow whatever they brought to inspire my version of Shauna. So I felt like I was at least trying, and I always try to pay homage to them and be inspired by what they brought to the character and how that influences me to bring it into this version.
Right. I would imagine that you probably have to then weigh how much of you do you want.
Yeah.
Versus...
And when I auditioned for Sailor Moon, I got called back for Sailor Moon and for Luna, and I didn't get to go to the callback in person because I was in Texas getting married. So I was like, well, I'm not getting this job.
We've actively, like, I do ceremonies.
Yeah, well, we had gone back to Texas, and we were doing all of the showers and rehearsal dinners and things like that. And so they said, can you come back? And I said, the day that callbacks are the day before my wedding. I cannot come back. Right. And they said, that's fine, we understand, just please send us another audition for these 2 roles. So I had done a first pass of Sailor Venus, but I had never done Sailor Venus for the callback. So when I got cast, I was really, really terrified, because it was the first anime I watched. Right. And I know it's beloved by so many people, including me. And so now I feel this immense amount of pressure. Sure. People are going to like hate my voice, and then I'll go to a convention and they're going to stone me, or something crazy is going to happen. And
by the way, I don't trust any of you.
They're so nice. And so I went to record, and it was just an eye catch. Sailor Venus obviously shows up later, but I had to say Sailor V in an eye catch. And we had the 3 beeps, and then I froze. And the director was like, are you okay? And I said, I'm just really nervous that I'm going to mess this up. And he said, every single one of you has been like this. And I've told every single one of you the same story, but yours is a little bit different. The creator of Sailor Moon handpicked all of you. We played your auditions for her, and we played your audition for Sailor Moon. You were the first because you're a C, so you were the first of the callback, and you were the first voice she heard of all of the round of callbacks. And she just said, that's Sailor Venus, just from when you said your slate. Just from saying Cherami Leigh, she was like, that's Sailor Venus. And she said, don't play me any of the other Sailor Venus, that one's done. And he was like, so just from saying your name, she knew that you were Sailor Venus. And he said, so if you can't say Sailor V in an eye catch, we have a huge problem. I was like, I'll get over it. And he was like, if she signed off on it, then you have to know that the creator of this show that everyone loves so much is behind all of you 110%. And if you guys are not going to be brave and strong and deliver this performance that she obviously hears in your voice that you're capable of, then you're letting her down. I was like, well, I don't want to do that. Fair enough. So, yeah.
You know, there's feature actresses out there that are going to be, that's you now. Like, they're now you're there, they're going to freak out when they have to take over your role
I guess,
at some point.
yeah. Sure.
Just- so they're, Netflix especially is starting to bring a lot of the stuff to the forefront.
Yeah.
I think there's more avenues and outlets for anime especially. But they are talking about doing a few live action versions. That's SAO's coming out, so they're doing Cowboy Bebop as well.
Yep.
How do you think those are going to translate?
I've talked to so many people in conventions. There's last time, I think it was a couple weeks ago, somebody brought up Ghost in the Shell, and it was a huge room of people, and everybody just booed. And then they mentioned Death Note, everybody just booed. And I, as someone who is on the creative side, I know what it's like to put your heart and soul into a project and to want people to like it, and then not know why someone doesn't, when you're like, I've done everything, I love this project so much, I want people to like it. I mean, it's the same way if any of us put our heart and soul into a project and we're like, I'm gonna get an A, this is so good, and the teacher's like, you totally misunderstood the assignment, this is atrocious, and then talks about it in front of the class about how stupid you were to turn this in, and it like really kills your self-esteem. So I really make a cognizant effort for anything that comes out to say at least something positive about any piece of entertainment that I see. It doesn't have to be my favorite, it doesn't have to resonate with me, but it resonates with someone. And I told the group of people, I said, you might not have liked Ghost in the Shell, and you may not have liked the Death Note or fill in the blank live action project that came about, but for someone that was their first time being exposed to anime. Right. And they're like, oh, this is based on, okay, well, I'll check that out. Right. And then they're now exposed to this entire world. And is that why anime, is that a part of why anime has become so mainstream, and it's not something that people feel like they have to talk about in the back alley or in a basement or after school with this anime club that is like Fight Club that no one talks about unless they're in the room. And if that's what those live action shows are doing, is bringing an awareness to a culture and a genre of entertainment that we all love so much, that I think offers a lot of insight and poignant and introspective stories that we need to learn and can grow from, then I'm all for it. We don't have to love it or want to watch it 37 million times, but I feel like just knowing that it's there and everybody's welcome to their opinions. I know there's a lot of people that have said, yeah, but Scarlett Johansson should never be playing a role. Yeah, but Scarlett Johansson didn't make the casting choice. You could talk to the producer and say, like, this should have been played by a native Japanese actress. Totally fine, but that's not the actress's call, and she could have turned down the project, but for whatever reason, maybe this was an anime or a manga that she grew up with, and she's like, you want me to take this on? That's so incredible. I mean, I don't know if anybody came up to you and said, I think you'd make a great Black Panther, and you're like, for so many reasons I cannot play Black Panther, but it would be so hard to turn down something that you love so dearly and are so excited to be a part of. So it's kind of hard to, I see both sides of the coin, but I also try to always find the positive in every situation, especially with the world that we live in. There's so much negative.
Do you ever look online, do you look at your own reviews, or get people?
Yeah,
comments?
actually on the way to this panel, I got announced to be playing Red Blood Cell in the English dub of Cells at Work. Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, I can talk about it on the panel. I've been keeping it a secret since like Christmas. It's been really hard. But they wanted to do a big promo where we got to sing the theme song, and so they released the trailer with us singing the theme song, and I was like, well, let's just see what people are saying about the dub, if they're excited. And one of the comments was like, the song is okay, they're not off key. And I was like, I mean, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I do check, and I shouldn't. I have talked to many people, and they're like, don't look at it. But as soon as you guys know, like, once you look at one comment, you're like, that's fine. And then you keep scrolling, and you're like, oh, that's nice, and that gives you like a boost, and then you see 3 more like, you are a horrible person. I had someone that was like, you are a horrible human being. I hope you die in a fire. And I was like, okay, you're very passionate about how much you hate me. And then later on, then it got personal, because I live in California, there are a lot of wildfires, and they were like the one that's happening in Malibu right now. I was like, oh, you pictured me there too far, sir.
Right. So yeah, they're going to have you on
if it's a metaphorical fire, like, I mean, I'm hurt, but too far, but like, you are visually putting me in a place where people are losing their homes right now. Right. So yeah, the internet is a very rough place. No. But it's also a beautiful place, because there's a lot of wonderful people, and I get to see a lot of fan art, and I've gotten to see to talk to or share experiences with people. They'll send me pictures of their cats, and we nerd out over our cats. So the internet is not all bad, but there are some really horrible comments.
I would imagine that's the same person. I mean, these all seem like lovely people.
Yeah,
but
lovely
I imagine
people.
That's not always the case.
No, that is very true. I've had people that have been very passionate in person. Someone was really upset about a line that I said in a blooper reel. And
well, that seems fair.
Yeah, they were very, very angry with me, and they came a really long way just to tell me that I should never say that again. And I was like, okay, I will talk to the director, and I will see what we can do about that. And he was like, if you don't want to say a line, you just tell him you don't want to say it. I was like, I wish it were that easy.
Right.
I can say that, but then they will say, we will find an actress who will say this line. And that is my choice. And there have been times where I've turned down projects going, it just can't get past this. But, yeah.
You are a judgment, the game Judgment.
Yeah.
And you're playing a lawyer. That's not a traditional character to play in a game. I feel
No, but I've
very different.
always wanted to play a lawyer. And so I'm very excited about it. My dad told me that I should have gone to law school. For a long time, he'd always be like, look, you can always be a lawyer. And then now he's like, you're doing pretty well right now. But yeah, now I get to play a lawyer. And I hope this is not the end of me playing a lawyer, because it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working on that game. Because I love all of the procedural crime dramas and solving mysteries, and this game is a lot of that.
Do you watch like all the Forensic Files and all those shows? You watch a lot of like marriage murder shows?
Yeah.
So on my wife's Netflix queue, I'm pretty sure she's planning my demise.
No, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by people, and how people's brains work. So when all the Ted Bundy stuff started getting put on Netflix, I wanted to watch it because I wanted to try to understand, like, where did this glitch occur?
Right.
For someone to do such horrible things. What happened? How did we get to this place? And I think as an actor, that's a natural interest, because I've played a character that's killed someone, and I had to rationalize, like, why I would do that. And we made jokes on set. We're like, she said she didn't want to be my friend anymore, so obviously she's got to go. But really, like, what happens to a person to make them act so severely? And so a lot of my actors will just talk about, I think it was Abducted in Plain Sight.
Okay.
We were like fascinated by, like, how could this even happen? So we were watching all of those things, and I think it's fascinating. I mean, of course, we've seen so many procedural crime shows that we now know, oh, it's totally that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the way that you thought this was a good ending for this? You guys were reaching. But I mean, when they've been going on for season after season after season, those writers have to pull at strands, and sometimes they're genius. But yeah, no, I do like to watch all those shows, and then I have to be very, very careful to not watch them at night, because my husband is also an actor, so he doesn't think that it's, like, not okay to, like, make jokes or, like, jump out of the bathroom when I'm walking down the hall. I'm like, can you not? He's like, you jumped so far back. Yeah, dude, we just watched like an 8-episode series about a serial killer. I'm in a mindset right now. I'm in survival mode. I was watching a whole series about, I think it was on Amazon, about understanding psychopaths, and they were interviewing kids at this Mendota State Prison, and my mom, for her
prison, it's a mental institution.
Mental institution. Okay. So my mom was like volunteering there. She's a dance therapy major, so she was doing dance therapy at this Mendota State mental institution. And I was watching the documentary. I was like, oh, my mom went there. And my husband was like, to the mental institution?
That explains everything.
How long was she there? And I was like, oh, sorry, just in college. And he was like, wait, what? I was like, she volunteered there. She was doing therapy. He was like, you should lead with that. My mother was a therapist there, not my mom went there. Like it was fun. Like she checked in for a week just to see what it was like. Yeah.
So I spoke with Steve Bloom right here last year.
Oh, sweet.
And he's been in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Is your goal to surpass that record?
I don't know. I don't know if I could surpass like Steve and Monica Rial. I've been in so many things. I don't know. I've never really had the thought of like, I want to be in the most things or have this really long list. I just want to keep working.
Do you plan on, I mean, you still do some live action acting occasionally.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to, do you have a preference right now? Because obviously it's more anime and video games.
Yeah, I love doing live action. That was like my very first, what got me into the industry and got me wanting to be an actor. So that was my very first love as an actor. And when I'm doing a lot of live action and I'm not doing a lot of voiceover, I can't wait to get back into the booth. And when I'm in the booth all the time and I'm doing a lot of voiceover, I'm like, I just want to do something on camera. So I don't think that I will ever not want to do both.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of voiceover, so I would love to do some live action stuff. And I've been writing my own scripts. I've had a lot of ideas for projects, and I used to think, yeah, wouldn't it be funny if? And then people said, yeah, that's really good. And then started writing it down, and I had somebody say, stop giving away your ideas, just start writing them yourself. So I'm starting to do more writing, and hopefully that will lead to producing and creating content. I had an idea for a web series called Confessionals, about like the behind the scenes of voice actors, and so we did sort of a mockumentary style web series. My husband was like, I'm tired of us just joking about this, we're gonna make it happen. So he wrote it and we produced it. So we had a 5-episode series that came out a couple of years ago, and it's on YouTube and Sika TV, and we got a lot of great voice actors that were willing to work on it, and we got to shoot at a convention, which was really fun. So we had like at least 100 to 150 extras that stayed late after the convention on Sunday night just to be in the web series, and they were fantastic. So that was really cool.
I'm going to open some questions in a minute, but I have one last question I'd like to ask you, which I ask any voice actor I speak with: stunt casting.
Okay.
A lot of voice actors are very vocal about it. Some don't care. What are your thoughts on, say they were going to make a Sailor Moon movie at this point, and there are a CGI, like big, huge budget, and they cast Charlize Theron in the role instead of yourself. How do you feel about the voice stunt casting?
I mean, it would be a little heartbreaking. Anytime you play a character, you love the character, you feel connected to the character. And it would be hard because I do a lot of live action, but I also know that, like, physically, sometimes the characters that we play, we just don't look like. And that would be the case. That could work for me in some ways, or it could work against me. And then I probably, while I would say, man, that is my character, and she looks so cool in the outfit, I would also say, like, wow, somebody thought just from my voice, being with that animated character, that Charlize Theron would be a good match.
Right.
I'm doing something right, because she's pretty amazing.
Right.
So, yeah, I think in that situation, again, if it's bringing it to an audience that wouldn't know about these characters and wouldn't know about the story, I'm just a small part in telling this greater story, and I'm lucky to do that. And the more people get brought into the family, we're all connected, and it's serving a greater good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
About the new Sword Art Online Alicization.
Yes.
I saw the episode of where Asuna spoke a lot in. I felt so bad for her that she lost character.
I know! Me too! I watched it. Usually we preview, and then they'll say, let's just jump in and record it. And we previewed, and then they jumped right in. I was like, I'm sorry, can we please wait? We have a moment of silence. What just happened? And I kept saying, okay, so the credits are rolling. It's gonna pop back on. We're gonna get like a Marvel sequence where we find out that everything is okay. It was just a dream, and it wasn't. It was traumatizing. I was so sad for her. That was awful.
Yeah, I'm luckily I have.
Yay! Oh, they're together. I'm glad you're keeping them together and they're safe.
Of course, and I also got the 2 books.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're keeping everybody together, and I'm glad you love the show. I hope we get to do more, and I would like at least 1 episode. I would love a season, but I'll settle for 1 episode where nothing bad happens to them.
Well,
This is a really boring show.
I know.
tomorrow, and I'm going to watch it.
Oh, you are?
Yep.
Yay!
I'm going to watch every single episode.
Oh my gosh! Binge watch the whole thing. Yay! Well, that's so exciting. Thank you.
You, sir.
Yes. If there was like out of all the roles you've auditioned for, is there any role that you auditioned for that you didn't get that you really wanted?
So many. I've been auditioning for things since I was 6. So, 24, almost 25 years of auditions. Sometimes I audition for voiceover-wise. It could be like 30 projects a week. So yeah, there's been many times, and this happens regularly, that it's gotten to the point now where I have to remind myself that it's okay to keep getting excited about stuff, because I noticed in the last couple of years, I'm so used to them saying that there's something wrong or something is not going to work, that I have noticed I'm not putting all of my heart and soul into something, because it hurts so much to get shot down. But I can see why in every role that I did not get cast in, why they chose that actress for the role. And it makes so much sense. And I love the show, and I love the character, and I love the version of the character that I'm watching. But it's sort of a bittersweet thing when you're like, oh man, that could be me. I auditioned for Hermione in Harry Potter. That would have been way cool, but I love Emma Watson in Harry Potter. I auditioned for a movie with Robin Williams, and I would have played his daughter when I was a kid, and I remember going, well, I'll get to work with him again.
Is that like Jumanji,
no.
or?
Yeah, it was actually a movie called What Dreams May Come.
Oh.
And then recently I auditioned for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, for Mrs. Maisel, and I loved that show. And so yeah, I'm trying to think of like some other shows people might know. It wasn't a big role, but I did audition for a Marvel movie, and I was like, oh, this would be so cool, and you start like imagining what that would be like just to be on the set. So yeah, it happens on a regular basis. And you think that people call and will say, this is why you didn't get it. Sometimes they'll call and say, she's really too short for this role, or we feel like we need to go a little bit more in an ethnic direction, or we don't really think that her face structure matches the parents that she would be playing, and we've already got them committed to the role. But sometimes they just don't call at all, and I think that's even harder.
You had said earlier too about
Yeah.
Sailor Moon for Viz Media when they started that production. For that, you said that was a role you were auditioning for, but you got Venus instead.
Yeah, and I got Venus instead of Sailor Moon. Yeah, so sometimes they'll have you read for other things, or sometimes you just don't hear back at all, and that's kind of hard when you go, I thought I was a great audition, and they didn't even it didn't jive with them, or it didn't connect with them enough for them to even call and say, hey, she did a great job, but we're going in a different direction. So
You have booked roles, but the films didn't get the money.
that's true. Yeah, I've also gotten cast for projects and was super excited, and we were changing my schedule around, and met with the other actors that would be playing my sisters or my family, and then they say, actually, we don't have the funding,
Yeah, that's what I was
or
thinking.
we're
Yeah.
gonna, and it's stuff that huge. There's a movie that I was up for that I got cast for that had Elijah Wood and Louise Fletcher and Finola Flanagan and Michelle Rodriguez and Adrian Brody, and I was like, this is awesome. And then we got a call. They're like, our funder just, like, the funding just, we lost it. And I was like, how does a movie like that lose its funding? But they kept having to push because of everybody's schedules, and then I think the producers and the investors just got really cold feet. And then there was another project for Lifetime that they said, we're actually going to allocate the money we were going to put towards this movie to another project for marketing, and so we're going to put this one on the back burner. So all that kind of
It's
stuff.
generally your hair set her hand up the whole
Yes.
time. Let's go with her.
What was it like voice acting Lucy?
I love voicing Lucy. When I auditioned for Fairy Tale, I auditioned for Urza and Happy and Levy, and then I left. And the director was like, do you want to read for Lucy? And I said, no, she's really cool, and I really like the show, and I know you're not going to cast me. And so I just I don't want to get my heart broken again. This had been after a string of, I had auditioned for and was the second choice on like 8 projects, and I knew this director really well, and so I felt comfortable being like, I really am not in a place to get my heart broken again. And so he just had me talk for a couple of things, and they recorded my audition, and then he cast me as Lucy. I said, I really love Fairy Tale, and I really want to be in the show. And it's just really hard knowing that I'm not right for this character. And the first line that I hadn't looked at for the sides, the audition sides, were, I really love Fairy Tale, and I just want to be a part of this guild. And he was like, oh, okay, well, guess you're a little more like her than you thought. So it's been the longest I've ever spent with a character. I've almost been playing her for a decade, which is really, really special. And so I love the show. It'll always be a very, very important part of my life. And then everyone always says, so when are you getting a tattoo with the guild symbol on it? But because I do on-camera work, I have been told that if I had a tattoo and it got caught on camera, then the tattoo artist or the company that owns the image could sue them, and I would be responsible, because it's art on my body, to pay $250,000 every time it shows up on camera, and I don't have $250,000. So I would have to just give them a bunch of IOUs, and I just don't want to be in that kind of debt to somebody. So if you guys want to know how to make a lot of money, I guess be a tattoo artist.
Tattoo copyrighted things.
Yeah.
We got time for like
Perfect.
2 more questions with me, dear.
So this kind of streamlines from the question about Lucy from Fairy Tale, because I loved Fairy Tale when I was younger in high
Aw,
school,
yay.
so it's super nice to get to see you here at the panel.
Thank you.
Does it ever, now obviously Lucy is like very expressive and like very emotional, and a lot of voice acting is very emotional. Does it ever get exhausting?
All the
like
time.
being like exerting so much emotion behind a microphone all day?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll go home from work and I will not know why I'm so tired. There's been times where I don't know why I'm so sad, or I'm so angry, or I just feel like everything's achy and sore. And I feel like any emotion that we feel, like if we're in a car accident, all that stuff sort of stays with you unless you're able to find a way to release it. And you kind of get like, it just feels like the emotions or all the stuff is kind of like just stuck on you, and you like need to shower and get all of it off. And so there have been days where I've come home from work and I've gone, why am I just so angry and so tired? And like, I just.
Let's blame your husband.
Yeah. He's probably just like, what is happening? She's crazy. Maybe she's the one who was at the Mendota State Mental Institution, not her mother. But yeah, and then I'll think about what I did that day, and I'll go, well, I was playing a villain who ordered for 500 people to get murdered and then blew up a planet. Or I was fighting zombies and then got stabbed and then had them like destroy my face, and I had to do all those eating reactions.
I had a nickel, right?
Yeah, right? I had one day where I was doing a live action show for Netflix where the character was on an ecstasy trip, and then 15 minutes later I was like being a diplomat trying to get people to elect me to office, and this was like a full day, and then I played a billy goat right after, and then I was a corporal in an army. And then so I started thinking about all the things that I had said or done, or the emotions that I had gone through, or watching people that I care about die and crying in the booth and getting all these emotions out, and then thinking, I'm a human and I went through this. If any human went through these things in their life and had this emotional journey, I think they might be tired. It's okay to be tired. And so then I just have to make the recognition that this is not mine, and it served me today, and I'm gonna let it go. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm too tired. I can't even process that. But I try to do like yoga or some sort of meditation and try to like just disconnect from all the noise and chatter and all that like icky stuff that we can kind of experience. I think that happens a lot when we're online too. We're like, this is so great, and then after a while you get offline, you're like, why do I feel gross? You're like, well, I haven't moved in like 30 minutes and I've just been scrolling, and now I feel really bad about myself because my friend Sharon has a great life according to Instagram. Like, it's just like some of that you kind of have to disconnect and recenter.
Can we all just
focus
agree that
on
Sharon
you.
needs to stop it?
Sharon's the worst.
Pump the brakes, Sharon.
Yeah.
Right?
Gosh, Sharon, stop like, gloating about how perfect your life is.
One more over here.
How does it feel to be Yui's mother and Sword Art Online?
Oh, I love little Yui. First of all, it's very funny that Stephanie Shea is playing Yui, because Stephanie is someone that I really, really respect in this industry. She's one of the most knowledgeable actors, producers, and directors in the voice acting industry. So when everyone's like, so do you feel proud of Yui? I'm like, I'm so proud of Stephanie. If I could be as knowledgeable about the industry as Stephanie is, I would be winning. So I feel like it's sort of the reverse. Sometimes I'll check in with her, I'm like, Mom, can you help advise me on this situation? She's like, I don't know, Mom. So it's great, especially SAO. We're all a great big family. We've been very, very fortunate that Aniplex has been willing to send us out to a lot of conventions, because it's the only time I get to interact with people if I'm not on set is with you guys. So the conventions are great. We get to see the other actors, see how they're all doing. And we've gotten really close because Aniplex is like, let's get all the Sword Art cast together. We think the fans like seeing you together. We're like, great! We love being together with people. It's awesome. So, yeah, it's wonderful.
So speaking of getting to know your fans, you will be upstairs
Yes.
the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
So you guys have any other questions, you can go up and say hi over there.
Yeah.
Please give Cherami a nice
Thank you
round
guys
of
so
applause.
much.
Thank you very much for taking the time.
Fantastic. I like that we coordinated with our plaid today.
This, yes, nice.
I got the plaid.